Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimikong.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you a part of Great Expectations.
As.
Ah.
Great Expectations. Charles Dickens. There. 1. My father's family name being Pirip, and my Christian name Philip. My infant tongue could make of both names nothing longer or more explicit than Bip. Phil. I called myself Pip, and came to be called Pip. I give Pirip as my father's family name. On the authority of his tombstone and my system is Joe Gargery, who married the blacksmith, as I never saw my father or my mother. The days of photographs. My first fancies regarding what they were like were unreasonably derived from their tombstones. The shape of the letters on my father's gave me an odd idea that he was a square, stout, dark man, with curly black hair. From the character and turn of the inscription, freckled and sickly, to 5 little stone lozenges, each about 1.5 feet long, which were arranged in a neat row beside their grave. To get a living. They had all been born on their backs with their hands in their trousers pockets, and had never taken them out in this state of existence. Ours was the marsh country, down by the river, within, as the river wound, 20 miles of the sea, to have been claimed on a memorable raw afternoon towards evening. Nettles was the churchyard, and that Pipped, late of this parish, and also Georgiana, wife of the above, were dead and buried, and that Alexander, Bartholomew, Abraham, the base, and Roger, infant children of the aforesaid, were also dead and buried, and that the dark flat wilderness beyond the churchyard, intersected with dykes and mounds and gates, with scattered cattle feeding on it, was the marshes, and that the low leaden line beyond was the river, and that the distant savage lair from which the wind was rushing was the sea. Kyle was Bip. Hold your noise, cried a terrible voice. Porch. Keep still. You little devil. A fearful man, all in coarse grey, with a grey iron on his leg. A man with no hat, and with broken shoes, and with an old rag tied round his head. A man who had been soaked in water, and slathered in mud, and lamed by stones, and cut by flints, and stung by nettles, and torn by briars, who limped, and shivered, and glared, and growled, and whose teeth chattered in his head as he seized me by the chin. Well, bunk up my throat, sir, I pleaded in terror. Pray don't do it. Tell us your name, said the man. In. Once more, said the man, staring at me. In. Sure, I swear you live, said the man. I pointed to where our village lay, on the flat shore among the alder trees and pollards, a mile or more from the church. The man, after looking at me for a moment, turned me upside down, emptied my pockets. There was nothing in them but a piece of bread. It go head over heels before me, and I saw the steeple under my feet when the church came to itself. I say, I was seated on a high tombstone, trembling while he ate the bread ravenously. "You dog," said the man, licking his lips. I believe they were fat, though I was at that time undersized for my years. I'm not strong. "Darn me if I couldn't eat him," said the man, with a threatening shake of his head. I earnestly expressed my hope that he wouldn't, and held tighter to the tombstone on which he had put me, partly to keep myself upon it, partly to keep myself from crying. "Now looky here," said the man. "Thou." "So," said I. He started, made a short run, and stopped and looked over his shoulder. "Thou." "So," I timidly explained. "Also Georgiana." "Oh," said he, coming back. "Yes." "So," said I. "Into haughty matter then. Considering, could I live with this person you are kindly let alive? My sister, Summers, Jagargery, wife of Jagargery, blacksmith. Aye," said he, and looked down at his leg. After darkly looking at his leg and me several times, he came closer to my tombstone, took me by both arms, and tilted me back as far as he could hold me, so that his eyes looked most powerfully down into mine, and mine looked most hopelessly up into his. "Now look here," he said, "the question being whether you are to be let alive." "Yes." "Yes." After each question he tilted me over a little more, so as to give me a greater sense of helplessness and danger. "You get me a file." He tilted me again. "And you get me widows." He tilted me again. "You bring them both to me." He tilted me again. "Or I'll have your heart and liver it." He tilted me again. I was dreadfully frightened, and so giddy that I clung to him with both hands, and said, "If you would kindly please to let me keep upright, so perhaps I shouldn't be sick." He gave me a most tremendous dip and roll, so that the church jumped over its own weathercock, and he held me by the arms in an upright position on the top of the stone, and went on in these fearful terms: "You bring me, tomorrow morning early, that file and them whittles. You bring the lot to me, at that old battery over yonder. You do it. You're having seen such a person as me, or any person sooner, and you shall be let alive. You fail, or you go from my words in any particular, no matter how small it is, and your heart and your liver shall be tore out, roasted, and ate. And I ain't alone, as you may think I am. There's a young man hid with me, in comparison with which young man I am an angel. That young man hears the words I speak, That young man has a secret way peculiar to himself, of getting at a boy, and at his heart, and at his liver. And a boy may lock his door, may be one bedded, may tuck himself out, may draw the clothes over his head, may think himself comfortable and safe. I'm open. I am a keeping that young man from harming at the present moment. With great difficulty. I find it very hard to hold that young man off of your inside. And I said that I would get him the file, and I would get him what broken bits of food I could, and I would come to him at the battery early in the morning. Say or strike you dead if you don't, said the man. I said so, and he took me down. Now, he pursued, you remember what you've undertook, and you remember that young man. Good night. Sir, I felt it. Much of that, said he, glancing about him over the cold wet fat. I wish I was a frog. At the same time, he hugged his shuddering body in both his arms, grasping himself, as if to hold himself, took the limb towards the low church wall. As I saw him go, picking his way among the nettles, and among the brambles that bound the green mounds, dead people, stretching up cautiously out of their graves, to get a twist upon his ankle and pull him in. When he came to the low church wall, he got over it, like a man whose legs were numbed and stiff, and then turned round to look for me. When I saw him turning, I set my face towards home. I made the best use of my legs. But presently I looked over my shoulder and saw him going on again towards the river, still hugging himself in both arms. Marshes here and there, for stepping places when the rains were heavy or the tide was in. The marshes were just a long black horizontal line then, as I stopped to look after him. And the river was just another horizontal line, not nearly so broad nor yet so back. Lines intermixed. Things in all the perspect that seemed to be standing upright. A potent and ugly thing when you were near it. The other, a gibbet, with some chains hanging to it which had once held a pirate. The man was limping on towards the slasher, as if he were the pirate come to life, and come down, and going back to pick himself up again. It gave me a terrible turn when I thought so, and as I saw the cattle lifting their heads to gaze after him, I wondered whether they thought so too. I looked all around for the horrible young man, and could see no signs of him. But now I was frightened again. I ran home without stopping. To be continued.